patient, but gradually found every day for as long as I live. I will pray that Allah shows mercy on him and grant him every good deed I perform in the tenfold. I loved him for the sake of Allah, and I pray each night to become an atom's weight of the Muslim he was. Islam is a religion with an open door. It is there for those who want to enter it. Verily, Allah is the most merciful, most kind.